day 15 of the lockdown.
Afsos.
You gotta crack the shells to get what's inside, Jared. And sometimes what's inside can be a bit of a skeleton, which means you've never had to deal with it. So what exactly are these skeletons?
The hurricane's outside, but I'll tell you what, the real storm's in here.
Okay.
The emotional storm.
Yeah, I know.
The emotional skeleton that seems to be lurking up on a lot of people these days is this growing sense of extreme pathological anxiety. And when anxiety manifests behaviorally, it becomes panic.
Nonsense.
Now, you may not admit the fact or even know the fact that you're feeling this way, more so in front of people who you think respect you, or people in front of who you would like to show that you have your emotions in control. But if there is a growing sense of panic in your behavior, you're not able to focus, you're not able to think about anything else except the coronavirus, you're going on this statistical binge of how many people have died and where, then yes, this is a legitimate concern, and that's what I'm here to talk about today.
क्या देख रहे हो?
Now, there are two types of panic: panic that glances and panic that dances. These are not in any psychology textbook. Panic that glances is what I would refer to as is a fleeting thought, which means that it might be a knee-jerk reaction. It's not something that disturbs you on a recurring basis. It is directly proportional to something that has caught you off guard, caught you by surprise, or that has suddenly thrown your balance completely off. So panic that glances, it's like a glance, it's like a ek nazar, it's like a small interruption to your way of doing things, seeing things. And that's why, instead of becoming a participant in what's happening to you, try to become an observer of what's happening to you, as opposed to having a reaction and having an analysis ready for everything. Sometimes it's good to just let these things sit so that they dissipate, and they will over time. Our fleeting thoughts are meant to contextualize our life for us. So just because we're having a certain thought about whether people like me, or whether I have enough groceries, or whether I will find enough activities to do during my day to fill my time, or whether I am doing what I need to do to progress in life, these are all fleeting thoughts, and these are all meant to keep you alive and keep you functional. So there's nothing wrong in them becoming a part of your thinking. But when you start getting worked up, getting into the state of panic where nothing makes sense, you feel listless, you feel like there's nothing left to live for, or there's nothing that you can do to contribute to your situation, that's when the second kind of panic kicks in, which is panic that dances. That's the one I feel is kind of like this little gray color mouse, like the one in Tom and Jerry, that just keeps wanting one thing. He wants to eat, he needs to be fed. Similarly, the panic that dances is like this little monkey that sits in your mind and keeps dancing up and down with all these thoughts that are going all over the place. Thoughts like, are we all gonna die? When will this end? Does humanity deserve to be saved? How will my family be safe? How is my business gonna stay afloat? When will I get my next paycheck? Are there gonna be retrenchments at my office? Is money gonna dry up for me? Or how do I pay the next loan? A lot of these thoughts, these are just what I call panic that dances. It just sits around in your mind, becoming worse as you feed it more, becoming more and more threatening to your sense of peace. When you succumb to the panic, things get mixed up, your judgment is impaired, and the faculties that you need to contextualize and conceptualize a way out, those faculties are compromised. So ask yourself, what is this panic really doing to me? Is it helping, or is it only mixing things up for me?
Absolutely.
Remember that a thought, despite its resilient and sometimes almost parasitic-like quality, is simply a thought and is completely divorced from the real material world in which we live. Now, just because I have a thought about something, that does not necessarily translate into the fact that the world may completely be unaffected by that thought, because the thought is in my mind and the outside world is a function of several other factors that may have absolutely nothing to do with my emotions, my thoughts, my upbringing, my conditioning, my desires, my fears.
Huh. That's odd. I thought that would be big news.
You thought what would be big news?
People with anxiety try to do one of two things. Either they try to predict the future or alter the past.
What do you mean?
A lot of internal processes, and not all of which might be in perfect sync with each other. Your emotions, your moods, your thoughts, your imagination, they're like those cousins who were forced to hang out with each other during Diwali break just because they were family. And if you think about families, not all people in the family might be in perfect synchrony with each other. Similarly, if you have an idea which is distressing to you, if you have an idea which is bringing pain to you, if you have an idea as a part of panic that dances, which is leading to you going down this path, this vortex of confusion, paranoia, anger, and even extreme fear, don't forget that the information superhighway of your mind has a lot of cross connections and jumbled wires. These internal processes could be saying to you,
हम तुम्हें चैन से नहीं बैठने देंगे.
in order to practice self-preservation, your reaction must be,
Is that it funny? Nonsense.
so if you take every thought that you have so seriously and start seeing reality as a reflection of those thoughts, or those thoughts as a reflection of reality, you are likely to induce that kind of anxiety in yourself. Don't forget that this is all choice-based. The way we think, the way we feel with practice can be choice-based. Similarly, if I throw you in a deep swimming pool and you've never swum a day in your life, you will sink. You may die if you aren't saved in time. Similarly, the fact that everyone from the world of spirituality and psychology says that your thinking processes are not you, your emotions are not you. So you can feel your emotions but don't become them. You can feel your thoughts but you don't need to be consumed by them, and you need not expect reality to realign based on those thoughts. All these people who were saying this, I think they made a lot of sense. The more you feed the panic that dances with extra information and ideas and conspiracy theories and the company of people who bring you down, the more it begins to dance, and it starts getting more and more cute. And this is not the kind of dance that you and I enjoy being a part of or being subjected to. This is the kind of dance that can sort of bring about fatalistic thinking is decidedly unhelpful. Have you predicted the future? I have no idea. Have I predicted the future? I have not. There is no way for us to figure out how this will end, when this will end, who will help end this, but there are ways in which we need to protect ourselves during the period. Everyone's talking about how you protect yourself physically. I'm here to help you remember that it's your job to protect yourself emotionally.
You are right. You are right.
A lot of us are thinking about the end of this period of uncertainty and when it's going to happen, how quickly, and how are we going to be altered by it. But a lot of us are also thinking about the uncertainty of the end. How does it end for humanity? How does it end for us? Are we all going to perish? In the battle between our moods and the scientific method, science usually wins all the time. If the story of evolution has taught us anything, it's that man has always adapted and improvised to his surroundings. So his is not only a story of survival and triumph, his is also a story of brains meets bronze, meets courage, meets resilience. Despite the fog of war or reasonable uncertainties or even unreasonable uncertainties that usually confront us. There are still ways to live, there are still ways to thrive. Think about it. Everything you've done in your life, everything you haven't yet done, has always been done based on a guesstimate, which means that you have guessed, you have turned to the experience that you did have of the world, and you have made a decision. Similarly, you're going to have to learn to continue to live and thrive despite the uncertainty that surrounds us, because that's just how human beings have survived so far, and that's how they're gonna survive into the future. So ask yourself this: do I really want to give up, or do I want to find new ways to cope? Now, I'm not asking you to live in a state of denial, because yes, there is a threat. Yes, there is a problem. Yes, we are all challenged. Yes, our life has stopped. Someone above or someone below, whatever you believe in, has pressed the pause button, and you are just not used to it. So whenever you have these unpleasant thoughts that enter your mind and you feel like saying,
नालायकों को इसी वक्त आना था.
at that moment, start treating your thoughts not as invaders, but as passengers who are just passing through here to spread a little bit of information. And then again, not all the information that they have is based in logic, based in reality. A lot of it is based in emotion. And as we all know, emotions can be highly unreliable and highly temperamental as navigators. Bobby, could you imagine if our emotions were personified? What would they be saying to us right now?
हमारी असलियत तो तुम पहले से ही जानते हो.
With practice, you reach a point where you can say to yourself,
इसमें परेशान होने की क्या बात है?
so the next time these panic-inducing, anxious thoughts come, you say,
If we came to a different understanding.
an understanding based in patience and observation, and not based in blind trust of every thought in your mind. Then you will eventually learn to clean out how you're feeling on the inside. So the next time you feel, oh, this will never end, we're all gonna die, no one has the answers, we'll never have the answers, everything is doomed, everything is screwed, everything is going to shit, all right? Every time that comes and starts bothering you, you know what you need to do? You ask questions to these thoughts. Imagine the thought is here for you to interrogate, and you say,
You asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
now, I spoke a little bit about anxiety in one of my previous videos, but here's a special shout out to Azita for suggesting that I touch upon this topic and deep dive into it a little more. So here I am trying to help you alleviate your anxiety, and I hope I'm doing a half decent job, because I really want all of us to become stronger through this as opposed to weaker. And as the famous quote goes by Friedrich Nietzsche,
Whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
Sorry, it's whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I'm gonna leave you with that.
अब क्या होगा?
जो होना है वही होगा.
As a small exercise, I want you to make a list of all the things that you feel you should be alive for, all the things that bring you joy, that bring you purpose. Is it happiness? Is it the dreams of travel? Is it your family? Is it certain professional achievements or titles that you have worked very hard to gain for yourself? Make a list of all these things and stick it somewhere in your house where you can see them, so that every time you have this nasty thought that everything's going to hell and there's no point to anything anymore, there is some context, there is some hope for you